Higuruma Hiromi, you were compared to Satoru Gojo himself. It only makes sense you would fall just like him. What's up guys, and here we are to do a review of chapter 247 of Jujutsu Kaisen, known as the decisive battle in the uninhabited demon-infested Shinjuku, part 19. 19. Oh my god. Are we even in Shinjuku anymore? How far did Sukuna throw Higuruma? I feel like we're not in Shinjuku anymore. How many people are in Shinjuku right now? Are we still uninhabited? Is it really demon-infested? Does Sukuna count as a demon? I don't think so. I haven't seen a single curse. Do curses count as demons? Aren't they curses? I don't know. Yeah, not only have you been using the same title for the past 19 chapters. Okay, maybe not 19. We had that, reference to that anime intro song. But, still. Okay. Come on now. Something different. Once again, once this is all over, I'm going to make a video renaming every single one of these chapters. Just as if, maybe it is. Maybe it's just harder than I think to come up with 20 plus different names for a continuous battle, especially when chapters like this are mostly battle. But of course, enough yammering on. Let's not waste any more time and let's hop right into it. Ending me. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here, or maybe 2 pencils, or maybe 3, or maybe even a whole bunch that I'm not going to take out of that cup because they are currently holding the ring light. But with that being the case, how are you guys doing? Did you know? Did you know that I have a fun fact that I have it on me, and I keep it on me at all times? I mean, another fun fact: Higuruma Hiromi, bro. Man, he had it on him. In fact, he kept it on him at all times, but unfortunately, it just wasn't good enough against the king of curses. But of course, we have, shockingly, despite not much actually happening in this chapter, we do have quite a hefty chunk to talk about. So let's not waste any more time. Let's actually hop into chapter 247. So we open up and we get to see that Sukuna has begun the glaze. As he says, actually no, this is the narrator. This is the narrator, I think, or maybe Sukuna. I don't know. It's weird because it's in the boxes. It's in the boxes here. And then we have internal monologue dialogue from Sukuna. So I'm assuming this is the narrator, but we see. Let me put on the narrator voice. Let me take a sip. Stay hydrated. Domain amplification reignited. What intrigued Sukuna, so this is the narrator. What intrigued Sukuna even more than that was the interruption caused by domain amplification and the subsequent English. I need you. I need you to work. Brain, please. The subsequent resumption of his technique's effect. The genius Higuruma. What is his talent that shines so brightly? What is it of his talent that shines so brightly? And, honestly, for some reason, I didn't even bat an eye about that, though realistically, it does make sense that this is something that caught Sukuna's attention, as we see him explain this. When I guess Sukuna kind of is the narrator, because they have basically the same voice. When I activated my amplification in my fight with Gojo Satoru, I paid close attention to only pause and not invalidate Maharaga's adaptation. He too is managing to keep his sword alight. Between amplifications, there's no doubt about it. This man is working with the profoundness of his ability at a similar level to me. So, this introduces an idea that didn't even sucker punch me as a question that I thought about. But that is true. At least based on how domain amplification is explained, you need to shut off, or essentially turn off, your inherent technique. Your natural one. That's the trade-off, essentially. You gain immunity to other technique projectiles, or maybe even passive techniques, such as barriers and stuff like that. You gain immunity to that through domain amp, but as a byproduct, you give up your own innate technique. Meaning, if your own technique has certain functions or factors that you're used to using, by using domain amplification, you give up those factors. Say someone like Uro were to use domain amplification. She's typically flying. She wouldn't be able to do that anymore while using domain amp, and thusly her potency would fall drastically. But someone like Ryui Shigori, who, is mostly a fisticuffer anyway, with some laser blast that he can fire with or without his technique, as we see post his domain, he probably wouldn't suffer too much from Domain Amp because he doesn't fly. He doesn't use his technique in any other fancy way other than Granite Blast, which he can do without the activation of his technique, legally speaking, as his output is the same universally. Essentially, his output is a base mechanic that is already very, very high. So while someone like Earl would suffer a lot from using Domain Amplification because it takes away a lot of her basic move set, from Thin Icebreaker, her main offensive attack, to her main defensive ability of bending the sky, to even things like, I don't know, flight. You know, the things she does 99.9% of the time, Ryu would be fine. But naturally this brings up the idea of, oh wait, if you just turn off your innate technique, how come Mahoraga didn't get turned off? Especially considering there are numerous times where we see the wheel go black, but not disappear, even though it should have disappeared. But I get... How can I explain? I'm trying to rationalize this because it's weird, right? Because this should just be a rule break. You can't, you can't have both. But there may be something to do with this here that would allow for something to work. I'm not sure because Gege glazes over it and doesn't necessarily fully explain it. But he mentions, I paid close attention to only pause, not invalidate Maharag's adaptation. So there are at least 3 different explanations I can think of for this. Explanation number 1, the way Sukuna did it was, essentially, he kind of had the light switch off and on at the same time. I don't know if you ever, let me think, because I have a specific idea in mind, but you know a light switch, right? How it essentially, it can be on or it can be off. Essentially, Sukuna kind of just did this. So he had the light switch both on, so Maharaga's adaptation was technically still around, the technique was not turned off, but he also had it off at the same time, so he could use Domain Amplification, and that kind of led to this middle point, where both were technically valid, except the effects of one were overriding the other. So Domain Amplification was overriding Maharag's adaptation, that's why the wheel turned black, but it wasn't fully turned off to the point where the wheel just disappeared, and Maharaga's adaptation was completely invalidated because the wheel got turned off. So there's that idea. There's the other idea that I have, where, well, maybe Sukuna just has like a grace period between turning it on and turning it off. Like hypothetically, Maharaga's wheel will just linger for a while. It'll stick around for a point up until maybe like a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes, and then it'll disappear and delete any adaptations it was currently undergoing. The only reason that's a little bit questionable is because, like, wasn't he like going bar for bar with Gojo and Domain extensions using Domain Amplification for a hot minute? But I guess that was before, and that was the wheel being above Megami, and I guess technically since Sukuna was using Domain Amplification, Megami, since he had the wheel above him, didn't really matter. The only time it started to matter was when Sukuna put the wheel above his head, so he could adapt to the Infinity and Blue and Red and stuff like that, I guess? I don't know, I'm leaning towards that. Or the third idea, it's simply that you can do both at the same time, like Higuruma does. He sort of like kept a good grip on his technique. Maybe, well actually no, the third idea is a little bit complicated. Essentially, he used Domain Amplification on everything but the blade. Or like everything but the hand that was holding the blade. Essentially, he Domain Amped to cover his wrist, everything down up to his body and everything like that. But even doing that, trying to use Domain Amplification without too much of his body did dim the blade, caused it to shrink down and shorten a whole bunch. But since he didn't use Domain Amplification on that one hand, it's kind of like a binding valve. The trade-off was that hand was still exposed, so he got to keep his technique. I'm not sure. Because once again, the wheel, the reason the wheel is such an interesting thing here is because the wheel was floating above Sukuna. It wasn't something he was tangibly holding. So I don't know. It's just an interesting detail and interesting elaboration that does kind of explain a contradiction. I haven't seen anyone mention this, but now this just got me thinking. Neat. I'll take it. Thank you. It's an interesting idea. It doesn't matter too much now, especially considering what happens to Higuruma this chapter, but still a very interesting detail. However, with that being the case, we do get to see that this is unironically the worst thing that can happen to you when you're fighting Sukuna. If he ever decides to call you by your actual name, you've been acknowledged. And if you've been acknowledged, that means he's most likely going to cook you. As he goes, Higuruma Hiromi. Right. So, he acknowledged Higuruma. And this is a question. I want someone to explain this to me. He does the hand sign. This isn't the hand sign for Malevolent Shrine. Malevolent Shrine is something different. It's more like this, I think. But he does the hand sign here. But does he use dismantle to destroy the building? Or does he use cleave to destroy the building? Because notably, this, at least the effects of this, remind me of Spiderweb. Very specifically, the technique he used when he was fighting Maki and Yuji, where he was like, alright, forget this. I can't use this full output on y'all, but I can use it on other things. And he reached down with his palm to palm the ground, got a little grip on it, and destroyed everything. That was using Spiderweb. Okay, makes sense. Logical, absolute, clean, cut, beautiful, perfect, whatever. But my question here is, what did this do? Because presumably his domain is still down. Maybe, once again, big assumption. We have a whole assumption of Kusakabe pretty much debunked this chapter anyway. But with that being the case, I don't know. It kind of, the only thing I can remotely theorize is that he may have used cleave through his feet. And the reason I say that is because the reason he may not have been able to use cleave and dismantle in Megumi's body through his feet is because Megumi had shoes on. And we know Cleave in particular, since he used Cleave Spiderweb, and it looks like he does a similar thing to Cleave Spiderweb here to destroy the entire area, he's barefoot now. While Megumi had shoes on. And he didn't want to destroy Megumi's shoes, but now the shoes are gone anyway. And he, like, look at the way the toes are extended. He's gripping on that ground. He's got the ground grippers gripping the ground. It's very likely he just used it through his feet. Because we don't see him aim. This is the main thing. We don't know how much aim Sukuna generally has to do, but like his fingers, at least here, they aren't even like pointing towards the ground. They're pointing to, like, they're splayed out. They're pointing to the area around him, which shouldn't destroy the ground if the aim is required. And notably, if you think it's these fingers instead, they're aimed up. The only thing that's aimed downwards at the ground that could lead to this level of destruction if Cleave Spiderweb was used is if he activated with his toes. Thieve, if you will. Fist mantle, instead of dismantle. He used his big toes, all right? Like, that's the only way I can rationalize this, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. It reminds me of that scene in the anime where we see Todo clap with no hands against Mahito. Like, Mahito reaches out with a hand from his torso, and somehow Todo switches places, even though both of his hands are being used to guard against Mahito. In that moment in the anime, Todo clapped with his cheeks. And I'm not talking the ones on his face. And right now, Sukuna used cleave to his feet. That's the only way I can rationalize it. There probably is a more reasonable explanation. He literally does a hand sign and everything, but I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure how this one works. But one thing I do want to mention, someone pointed this out in the comments, and I think it is just true. His feet are consistently splayed. His toes are always hanging out. It sounds weird. And it is weird. Don't get me wrong. It is weird for me to say it like this. But no, I mentioned this as an offhand detail when he kicked Ino, but no, even while he's not kicking anything, instead of having, like, typically, I'm not sure how y'all guys' feet are, but, like, due to the nature of shoes and just due to how they rest most of the time, my feet are kind of just like this. They're like kind of one uniform thing. I can spread them out, though admittedly I can't spread them out that far. Like, notably, Sukuna's toes are, like, like, they're literally, like, clawed out. And he's been doing this. Like, I think we even see it later on in the chapter. He stands like this as well. Like, no, look, feet are still splayed out here. Excuse me, I go on a Sukuna feet hunt. Ignore the rest of the chapter. I mean, it's hard to tell here because he doesn't get toe details here. But let me take a look in a book, Reading Rainbow. Let me see if I can find another example. I could have sworn I could. Once again, no toe detail. Come on, show me the toes, Gege, show me the darn toes. But I don't know, I just find it funny, because someone had brought it up that, oh, well, maybe the reason Sukuna does that is because it's a good way to balance your weight. Like, typically, yeah, well, we don't see any more Sukuna feet pics. How could you, Gege? You've robbed me this chapter. I need more Sukuna feet pics. But essentially, people, in order to better balance, you don't want a more finite point. Like, if you were to ever do a handstand, you don't want to do like a knuckle stand if you want to stay balanced. You want to splay your hands out because it's more points of contact with the ground. So Sukuna does that too, which is kind of funny. It just makes you think he's super top heavy. Like, he's just super imbalanced, and that's why he needs to do that. And that's just a neat little detail. Once again, we know that Sukuna's body does not follow the conventional rules of anything. Like, based on that second mouth being there, nothing of his torso makes sense. And especially, like, his pectorals should not be this small. Though admittedly, he does look like he has, like, at least in this image, it looks like he has 2 layers of pectorals, one for the upper arms, one for the lower arms. But once again, his anatomy should not function. The narrator himself just says he's disfigured, but apparently everything works properly. From our understanding of the human body, his, like, large intestine needs to be in his right thigh, and his small intestine needs to be in his left thigh, or something, because the math is not mathing on how this boy functions. So, Obviously, Gege doesn't really care about how certain things work out, but if that detail is purposeful, considering Gege has specifically gone out of his way to draw the feet splayed every single time we've seen them with actual detail, it's very likely that Sukuna does need to balance himself out a little more with the extra toes he spread. And I like that. And I still just find it funny that he used cleat through his feet. I just like both of those details being there, even though the second one is a bit more iffy than the first. But with that being the case, we see Higuruma realize, Sukuna just grin, and Itadori realize, oh no, and start to sweat as the entire area gets destroyed. And once again, Sukuna just loves this way of fighting, bro. Like, he loves destroying an area and then fighting as he falls. And we see the multiple tiers and layers of this interaction. It was Itadori who was on the ground for the most part, looking up at them and watching as the building gets destroyed. It's Sukuna and Higuruma who are pretty much on the same level in the building. You can tell by where they're standing. They're pretty much uniform on the building. But ultimately, Higuruma ends up falling farther based on Sukuna's higher leverage here. And we actually know they're actually still pretty parallel. And what I had to put respect on for Higuruma Hiromi, bro, wrist in the kitchen and it stay. Oh, whipping, y'all. Because this man, the moment the entire area he was standing on collapsed, he had no hesitation. He started to book it straight towards Sukuna, bro. Like, this is wild. Bro said, I'm going to do the dash, and I'm going to make it go fast. I don't care about the fame. All I want is them bands. As he runs towards Sukuna in the midst of a falling building. Now, realize, this isn't liberated Yuji. This isn't Maki who can, like, hop off air or anything like that. This isn't even like Sukuna who can hop off air. This is Broski. This is a dude. This is a fella, a guy, an amigo who just decides, you know what? Forget it. We're dashing. And proceeds to dash full force at Sukuna, blade in hand. I just gotta give him credit. Once again, as a sorcerer, he's 2 months old. Bro's baby. He's baby. He's Omega baby. Like, he's not even really 2 months old, because Shibuya was October 31st, because Halloween. Then he may have gotten awoken maybe October 31st, and then the Culling Games really started then. So it's been what? 31st, we'll say that was towards the end of the day, because it was pretty late on the 31st. So let's say November's 30 days, and it's currently the 24th or 25th? I forget if they did it on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. But this is Christmas. Bro's been a sorcerer for less than 60 days. And he still has the immediate battle instinct to just run towards Sukuna and swing at him. I gotta respect the gumption, broski. That is wild. And I love how he just does not hold back. He's like, fine, we're going all in, baby. And he pulls back with the blade. But what I also love is just the sheer... Why is this like 8 feet tall, 4-armed twin dragon having quad orb holder, tree trunk thighed Giga Bro so speedy with it? Look, where's the debris? Someone show me where any sort of debris is in this image for Sukuna to grab with one of his hands, or even kick with his feet. Like, where's the debris? Oh, you don't see it? Don't worry, neither do I. But guess who had to see it? Higuruma. Sukuna just grabbed some random piece of rubble, just pitched it at Higuruma. And it's not just that, because Higuruma has to defend himself here. Sukuna, who was all the way over here, well, admittedly, it's hard to tell how far apart they were here. Like, I'm not sure. Someone count the distance here. How far apart are they? But, like, this man was on an entirely separate piece of rubble, falling towards the ground. And Higuruma's on this current piece of rubble, falling towards the ground, falling literally backwards. And Sukuna's behind him. For reference, like let's run the math on this. Sukuna is, well, actually, let me get 2 different colored pencils, because if they're both yellow, it'd be a little weird. Sukuna right here, Higuruma right here. They're angled this way. You can tell by how Higuruma is running up. Well, admittedly, this is kind of a perspective thing. We're following a lower angle of Higuruma. So, but let's say this. The perspective is somewhat tilted, because Sukuna is facing a rock here. So Sukuna needs to grab something, pitch it at Higuruma, and as Higuruma was blinded, he somehow needs to either A, run past Higuruma and then attack him from behind, B, go full circle around Higuruma one way or another and attack from behind, or C, leap over Higuruma and get behind. Like, no matter what he did, it's absolutely insane how speedy Gonzalez this man is, bro. And once again, not a bit of sweat, no exertion, no nothing. Though I do give credit, once again, as amazing as Higuruma is for defending himself here, Yuji Itadori stood on business, bro. Bro also just appeared and was like, why I order, and swung. But this is embarrassing. How did you get stronger over the 1 month time skip? How did you get a whole curse technique that would allow you to hit harder with flowing red skill stack? And how do you have these weird extra appendages on your arms and all that, only to get stopped dead in your tracks? Look at the motion. Look at the motion. He's not performing a money spread right now, but look at the motion here. He is swinging full. He's put his heart and soul into that swing forward. But look at it. Look at it. Goes for a slobber knock and everything. And Sukuna's like, I don't know about y'all. If any of y'all have younger family members or smaller friends, and y'all ever like were forced to or engaged in any sort of play fight, y'all ever just like, or like, depending on how small they are, like typically whatever, because once again, that guy with the pencil comes from a big pencil family. So like I have cousins who are literally like a 20th of my age, or like toddlers and stuff like that. And like whenever they run at you, you can literally just like scoop them up into the air. Like Sukuna did that to Yuji, bro. He babied him. And thank you to the commenter on this full discussion who clarified it for me. Let me make sure. I'm going to look it up to make sure I pronounce it right, because I forget the exact pronunciation. It's a creature I'd seen all over the internet, but never actually heard the name of. Let me see. Yuji got cupped up like a
marmot.
Ew. Why is there an O then? Why is it not an I?
Marmot.
One more time, Google. One more? Or not, maybe?
Marmot.
He got clutched up. He got cradled like a marmot, bro. Like, how more disrespectful? Like, look at him. He's literally like, once again, just big. Like, you can just scoop. Like, depending on how tiny they are. Typically, you don't want to do this when they're like 2 years or younger. You don't want to, because babies are still fragile. Like they're more durable than you think, but they're also more fragile than you think. They're like a walking, talking contradiction. That's what babies are. So like typically when they're extra small, you don't want to do that. You want to wait until they're like mid-2s or something like this. But like, I know I've scooped up and just like carried my baby cousins around like this. They love it. You know, for some reason kids like being in the air. I guess it's like carrying instinct or something. But like, bro, grabbed his arm, killed all his momentum, and cupped his side like a marmot. Like, I know, I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe it's just been all my social media, but I've seen so many videos of like those marmots getting grabbed on their side and just like squeezing their fat. And like, we know Itadori has no body fat, so Sukuna just cupped his side up like that is omega disrespectful. You can even see Itadori being like just like the marmots in the video, like he's so confused. He's like, wait a minute, you can do this? This is a thing? I thought I was relative to you. And Sukuna's like, you, relative to me. Maybe when I was in the body of a 15-year-old boy, but not anymore, boy. Look at my gains. And he just immediately kills all of Itadori's momentum and just grabs his side. And I love how Itadori, before it even happens, realizes what's about to happen. Like, his eyes widen and he's like, oh no, and immediately cleaved whole chunks. Now admittedly, it's kind of hard to tell if this is like undershirt or like he actually lost a whole chunk of his torso. I'm not sure, because that'll be the, I forget how the hoodie's structured, and I don't know what kind of shirt he's wearing underneath it. But like, did Sukuna actually take out what probably, like, allow me to run a body calc real quick. I think essentially Yuji this whole area decimated. And like, that's the left side of Yuji. If he was like properly cleaved to, his heart should be gone. Because remember, people say your heart is in your chest, and who knows, maybe it is supposed to be up here, like on your under your left pectoral, but mine isn't. Mine is like right beneath my left pectoral. Like, that's right where Yuji gets grabbed too. Like, notably, it's like Sukuna very specifically cupped them right beneath his left pectoral, where his heart would be. But Yuji somehow survives. So I think maybe this is more a surface level, but the thing is, though, we literally see like pieces of it fall away here. So it looks like Yuji did get like a whole chunk of his torso cleaved out. No idea how bro survived. No idea. Though, once again, I will admit, notably, Sukuna only used cleave on that part of him, on that little area that he grabbed. When we see, he grabs Itadori by his right arm. He just straight cups it. So, if Sukuna wanted Itadori gone, not only could he have just used a bigger cleave, not only could he have just grabbed him with the 2 spare arms he had, but he also could have just cleaved his arm off. Weird, right? And we see that Sukuna says this. Take it good. Oof. Sorry, I always try to add gravel to Sukuna's voice because I assume his voice is more gravelly, but it's hard for me to do that and keep like the deeper register. But I also don't just want to give him the narrator voice, because the narrator voice would imply that Sukuna's the narrator. And while he is the main character, that shouldn't mean he's the narrator. But take a good look in the mirror, brat. You're a bore. There isn't a single interesting bone in that body. Just give me Ray Chase. Slap me your voice, bro. Just give me all your vocal cords. Just give them to me. I'll take good care of them, I promise. They'll be put to good and consistent use. Give them to me, Ray Chase. Because, man, especially in Season 2, that man is going nuts. I admittedly didn't like his Season 1 voice for Sukuna all that much. It sounded a little bit too feral. But, like, you can say it, Mara! Like, of course, he was going crazy. But, with that being the case, he says, take a good look in the mirror, Brad. You're a bore. There isn't a single interesting bone in that body. So now my question is, Suka, if there's not a single interesting bone in that body, for one. Number 2, you've been saying this for a hot minute now. Number 3, he was your cage, so you probably feel some type of way about that. And number 4, your outputs are no longer restricted by Megami Fushiguro. Why is Yuji still alive then? Like being real, if all this was true, if Sukuna wasn't just yapping in the midair, like I do, if he was actually about the business, Yuji should be cooked, right? Like, there's no reason Yuji should still be alive and kicking. If he's supposedly this fodder, this uninteresting, Sukuna, why are you leaving him alive? Are you expecting something from Yuji? Expecting him to miraculously pull out an interesting bone? Because, like, realistically, Yuji should be cooked. And I know the meta-narrative reason. Yuji Itadori is our main character. We are not going to spontaneously off our main character. I get that. But in universe, what's the reason behind Sukuna not simply executing Yuji? He like fits all the criteria for Sukuna to execute him too. He's boring, he's uninteresting, he keeps getting in his way, and he's an eyesore. So ultimately, why is he still leaving Yuji alive? It's an interesting question. It makes me wonder, because this is, if you want to know what vibes I'm getting from this entire encounter, and maybe it's just because I've been getting a whole bunch of Dragon Ball in my recommended content. I've been watching a whole bunch of Dragon Ball, and 4-Star Bento just wrapped up the TFS run of the Cell Saga. But I'm getting lots of Perfect Cell vibes here, where essentially Cell was just beating up Gohan, bullying him, doing down atrocious things to that man for absolutely no reason. But there was all a purpose for it. He wanted Gohan to get stronger, to be actually a good fight for him and stuff like that. So that made sense. But for Sukuna, unless he's expecting something, or unless he made a promise to somebody else, there's no real reason for Sukuna to still be alive. Right? Like, am I missing something? Like, why wouldn't he just execute Yuji? Because, like, presumably, if the cleave could be this much, Why couldn't it be bigger? Why couldn't it be on Yuji's head? Why couldn't you cleave Yuji's arm? It just seems so odd that Yuji's still being left alive. In universe. Once again, out of universe, I get it. Main character. You don't off main character. Like, as crazy as Gege is, as many lives as he's taken, he's still writing a shonen manga for Shonen Jump. Where we shonen. Oh, shonen. Young boys. Essentially, this is the kind of series where you don't off the main character. But in universe, I wonder what the motivation is. I wonder if this has to deal with the contract or binding vow or just the verbal promise that Sukuna made with Kenjaku. Maybe something about leaving Itadori alive for the merger or something like that. Or maybe if it's just Sukuna genuinely expecting something. He's like, dude, I'm trying to kick you while you're down. But of course, those are two positive ideas. It could just be that Yuji is having his torture dragged out. His suffering extended as far as it can go. Because reasonably, what you could really chalk this up to is Sukuna wanting Yuji as punishment, as retribution for being the cage for Sukuna for so long. It could literally be Yuji is being forced to witness and watch every single person he ever made a connection with fall. Over and over and over and over again before he even gets the freedom, the liberty to leave this earth. It could be that. That would be unbelievably disrespectful. Don't get me wrong. But I could legit see it being that way. Just because Sukuna would be that sadistic. He would be like, oh yeah, you know what? I'll leave you around just so you can watch. One by one. Because he took out Choso, meticulously knocked away Ino. He's gonna tear apart Higuruma in this chapter. He could very easily not have any interest genuinely behind Itadori or his possible development. It could have nothing to do with Kenjaku. It could just be Sukuna being that bad an individual, just being like, yeah, I'm just gonna torture you. Because it'd be funny. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked if at the end of all of this, right? Say Yuji Itadori is the only one left. Him and Sukuna. And Itadori's like, just end it. You took everything else I cared about. Just take me. And Sukuna's like, no. You don't get the pleasure of freedom. You don't get the release. If you want it, do it yourself, bucko. You ain't getting it from me. And he just walks away. I could see Sukuna being that petty. Am I saying that right? Am I saying... Because I know Sukuna is wrong. I know I'm not supposed to pronounce it that way. But then, whenever I say Sukuna, people say I'm pronouncing it with an A. Am I pronouncing it with an A? Sakuna. If I'm saying it with an A, I'd be saying Sakuna. I say Sukuna. I say you. I don't know. Because I've been trying to rewire my brain in order to say the names right. Because I still feel bad about pronouncing Dewi as Dawe. Because that's how I read it when I was first reading out of high school. Even my friends who I've gaslit into reading out of high school. Gaslit. I just beg them a whole lot. They now strangle me whenever they hear me call him Dawe. Because they're like, no, he's not Ugandan Knuckles. Stop calling him that. So I'm trying to pronounce the names better. So I believe it's Sukuna. But correct me again if I'm wrong. I'm most likely wrong. I know I could just watch the anime. I probably will eventually. Not right now, though. But with that being the case, we see that everything falls as gravity permits, and there's this massive crash, and we see Sukuna just leaps out. He's like, whatever, I'm already pretty dirty. I don't want to get any more dirty, and he leaps onto a roof. But shout out to my boy Higuruma here. After blocking the rubble, he somehow escaped this entire scenario. Because it seems maybe, I'm not sure. The motion lines seem to be going this way, though. So maybe they all fell in this rubble area, and then Sukuna leaped backwards up to this area. Though still, it's very impressive. You can tell by this. Higuruma's down here, a whole story below, and he just leaps up to charge and challenge Sukuna. And I don't know why. This is, one of the funniest interactions I've seen in the entire manga. Higuruma is going all out. Bro's like, on guard. Swinging and stabbing a whole bunch, and Sukuna just being he's just dodging everything. It is crazy. Bro's having himself a good old time, just avoiding anything and everything that has to do with Higuruma, and that's wild. Once again, that's why I made that video. That's why I want to talk about it, and why I fully believe no one No one scales this man. The only one you can make an argument for is like Kashimo slightly, like on a super omega giga low end, because he's able to take hits from Sukuna, and presumably Sukuna was going all out to respect Kashimo's wishes and give him the love that Kashimo was always looking for. And like, if you think the stats are uniform, Gojo. If you think the stats are uniform across all variations of Sukuna, at least body-wise, you don't go with the idea that the base body matters, and you assume 20-figure Maguna at full power is as fresh as this fully healed true form hand body Sukuna, then you could argue that Gojo scales. But other than that, no one, not a whiff of a soul scales this demon. This demon. There's not a single way on this good green earth that a single soul scales to this man. He's a monster, a beast, a demon, a creature of unbelievable power and speed. And once again, it's super impressive to me because he's a big dude. Like, don't get Gege's size inconsistencies. Don't let them fool you. Despite him appearing to have like pretty much the same build as Higuruma here, that man's like 8 feet tall. He's big. He's huge. He's beefy. So like, he is massive, and he's moving this quick. Like, imagine for all my people who like American football out there, imagine a linebacker moving like this. Just, I know some of them can though. Like there's some freaky specimens out there. There are monsters in these streets. But like, the amount of motion that Sukuna has despite his size is impressive. Bro really heard it's not about the size of the boat, it's about the motion of the ocean, and decided to go for both. Golly. And we see he is just toying around with Higuruma, because after dodging his entire volley, he's just like, here, I grabbed the boy like a marmot. It's time to smack you like a marmot. And he side uppercuts Higuruma at the same time as he punches him straight across the torso. Like, bro hits him twice at the same time with 2 arms. He's just vibing. Look at the devious smile on that man's face. Bro's just chilling. He's having such a good time. And once again, notice how no one's caught up. No one has caught up except for Itadori, the closest one there. Where's Maki? Where's Maki? But of course, when we see Higuruma, he's so locked in right now. And since Sukuna is still playing around, clearly, he probably could have taken Higuruma's head off with that punch if he really wanted to. But he turns around, takes the blade that he was gripping in one hand, grabs it with both. And now, I'm not sure about this motion here. And I'm not sure about the motion of this chair that he's replaced because he's making so much darn noise. But with that being the case, I'm not sure about the motion here. But Sukuna goes from punching Higuruma here. I'm not sure who uses reversal from Kingdom Hearts 2 here. I'm not sure if it's Sukuna who ends up reversing behind Higuruma, and Higuruma hard read that movement and went to stab behind him, which is what he appears to do. Or if it's Higuruma who used reversal on Sukuna, because notably, he has the motion lines here, like across his face, though some of these could be damage marks. And then he goes behind, he's dragging the sword above his head to pierce straight behind him. But like, Sukuna has motion lines here too, that imply movement. So did he reversal behind Higuruma? Did Higuruma reversal behind Sukuna? Did they both reversal? I'm not entirely sure. But we see Higuruma go for the decisive stab on Sukuna. But, of course, this is Sukuna, who notices that, oh, the stab is coming, and he just, I guess he like front flipped, but like front flipped insanely hard from a standing position. Like, this man, look at how close they are. They might as well be back to back. Like, this right here could be a hard album cover. The Judge and the Accused. Like, right here, this could be a crazy album cover. But Sukuna said, nah, forget the music, and proceeds to front flip away from Higuruma, mid-backflip. And just proved Kusakabe wrong. Once again, it's why I was so critical of Kusakabe in 246. I was confident bro was just spitting straight game theory. Because look what Sukuna does here. Scale of the Dragon. Recoil. Twin meteors. Now notice, this is very similar to another separate phenomena where we saw a Ryuman Sukuna chant and do something dastardly and devious. He activates Dismantle. But this is no conventional dismantle, my friends. This is what would be known as Spatial Slash, the World Slash, if you will, any empowered dismantle. And the reason I say that is because, why would he chant here? Oh, well, I know why. Because if he used a regular dismantling into Higuruma's already shown the ability to react with domain amplification and keep his technique going. So, Sukuna resorts to this. And this is the thing. This is once again goes to the question of, does it travel? Does it not travel? What does it mean? Because, once again, considering Kusakabe's game theory is already proved wrong here, there doesn't seem to be much of a cooldown time. Once again, we don't know how long it's been between the last use of Spatial Slash, but it just seems he has to chant for it to get the amp up. But with that being the case, he goes Scale of the Dragon, Recoil, Twin Meteors, and he launches out Spatial Slash. And the reason I think he goes for it is, once again, because Higurumo can use domain amplification, but then, if dismantles do travel, regardless of whether or not they're spatial ones or not, then how does this work against Higuruma? Shouldn't it still be nullified? I think it's mainly because of how Spatial Slash works. And of course, before it was proven that, well, if Itadori does have any resistance to Sukuna's curse technique, it's very minimal, because look at his whole torso here. A lot of people were wondering, well, maybe Yuji would be able to take Spatial Slash, because, well, it's still Sukuna's cursed energy. The reason I think it doesn't work, and domain amplification, even if it was tried to be used by Higuruma, would be irrelevant here, is because it deletes space. The space between people. The space in between objects. That's like, it doesn't matter what exists within that space, as long as something exists there, it will be separated. It will be dismantled, removed from each other. And ultimately, domain amplification will not defend against that, because domain amplification is still a piece of space. So, this could mean dismantle still travels. Though I still believe World Slashers, Spatial Slash, whatever, I don't think it travels. I still don't think so, mainly just because of how it's portrayed against Kashimo, since we don't see it used against Gojo. We get a loose idea of what it may have looked like. Though then again, we see Maharada use a variation of it, and it cleaves through a building in the background, not just Gojo's arm. So, I don't know. It's a funny thing. I mean, if it does travel, that kind of just nerfs it. Like, then people would be able to react to it. Like, they would see him pointing and just move. And we do see, the thing is, we see Kashimo. The only reason it's so weird is because of 238. Because if it does travel, what? Does it start small and then expand? Because then why was Kashimo a distance away, and only the slash that cleaved the world was very specifically where Kashimo apparated from? Shouldn't there be a massive gash in the ground? I don't know. It appears there's a massive gash here because the dismantle disrupts everything here. But then again, does it really though? Because they're still standing on that same roof that they were on. Like, Higuruma is still on this roof after Sukuna front flipped off of it, and then he front flips right back on it. So I don't know. It's weird. Maybe this isn't even Spatial Slash, but I think this is Spatial Slash, because this is, once again, him chanting. And he clearly doesn't need to use the chant. If he's able to harm Yuji with his regular cleaves and dismantles, he's going to be able to harm Higuruma. But of course, we see Sukuna yawn. He goes, alright. Now heal yourself. That is crazy. Like, bro did this to Higuruma. And he just said, heal yourself. Go on and try. Bro. The atrocious disrespect is crazy. Bro really said, okay, you talented, right? You think you're on the level of me, right? Then heal yourself. Heal yourself. If you're able to use domain amplification, you should be able to heal yourself. Come on. Curses can use domain amplification. Curses can heal themselves. Go ahead. Heal yourself right now, bro. Heal yourself. He literally is so... And the thing is, he goes from smiling... That's the thing about Sukuna in this chapter. He goes from excited to disappointed to excited to disappointment all the time. Because you see, here, he's excited. He's amazed by the potential and enraptured or encaptured by the potential of Higuruma Hiromi. He even grins when he acknowledges his name. But then, of course, you see Yuji show up, and he's like... But then again, he has a slight smile here, though he does look bored here. And then he slashes Yuji up. Then he looks bored again. Then he has a little interaction with Higuruma. He smiles as he lands a hit on him. Then he backflips with a smile. And then he sees Higuruma armless and is like, disappointed again, and goes to say, heal yourself. So, like, constant back and forth on whether or not Sukuna's actually enjoying himself or if he's just bored. Though it appears like this is the next test for Higuruma. If you're truly on my level, if you truly can reach the level of us, the mightiest, go on and try it. Go ahead and figure this out like you figured out everything else. Let's see the real bounds of your potential. Higuruma Hiromi, I've gone far enough to acknowledge you, so prove my acknowledgement worth something. And we see Higuruma start to drip. because, well, his arm came off. Notably, we don't even see where his arm is. Like, did Sukuna eat it, or like where did it go? What was it? Was it on that chunk of the building that fell? Like, I don't even see his arm anywhere here, but it is just gone. And we see Higuruma go, it's laughable, really. No matter how cold-hearted I become, no matter how thorough my resolve, the pain is still as clear as day. And that's natural. Like, Higuruma, I do like the idea that multiple people are trying to walk down Sukuna's path, the path of ignoring all things, going for straight strength and power beyond any sort of means and metric of human logic. But Higuruma, it's okay, bro. It's okay to be human. Like, sure, there's the ever-relevant question. If your leg got cut off, would you feel it? Would it hurt? Of course it would, fool. Your leg got cut off. But where would you feel it? In your... Wait. Exactly, bro. Where you go? Obviously on the stump. Like, obviously on the... Like, of course you're going to feel like... I don't know. Like, for example. Like, that hurt when it happened. Like it's hard to tell because of the lighting's so bright. But, like, your boy jacked his hand up. You wanna know why? I accidentally punched my fan while I was in motion. I had stretched, forgot my fan was on it, and that hurt. And that's just me, like, barely getting some cuts on my skin. Higuruma lost the whole arm. It's okay to feel pain. It's okay to feel pain no matter how locked in you are. Though luckily it is the adrenaline that's pumping through Higuruma that keeps him focused. And we see that Sukuna, he's a trial by fire kind of guy. Like, he's a... I will throw you in the lake and or the pool, and you will swim or you will drown. There's nothing in between. As since Higuruma doesn't instantaneously heal himself, he takes half a second to reflect on the pain he's feeling. Sukuna immediately chops off his other hand. Whole arm gone. And he just asks, is this as far as you go? Next is your hand, you know. You'll need reverse curse technique. You know that, don't you? Come on, give it your best shot. Otherwise, it's the end of the line for you. Like, bro is just going for it. Though, admittedly, I'm not sure what the... Like, are these supposed to disable his... Like, he doesn't remove Higuruma's legs here. He, like... Are there, like, specific tendons up there? Like, he specifically slashes the upper thigh. I'm not sure what that's supposed to do fully. Like, I don't know. I know they're like specific tendons, or... I think it's tendons. They're like tendons you can cut, and that would like disable a person's ability to control certain things. So maybe he like went for certain tendons. You see Higuruma kneel here, but he may also kneel from the fact that he just had his top thighs torn open. I would also be kneeling and crying and screaming if you were to suddenly slice the top of my thighs open. And we see that Sukuna, he is intrigued once again. He's like, go ahead. Come on. Give it your best shot. Prove me intrigued. Once again, the constant mood switch of Sukuna is interesting. And we see that Higuruma thinks back to the reason he's here. I think I should play my role to its completion and perish in this fight. And Higuruma begins to think, all right, my role. And from the top rope, Randy Orton, right out of nowhere, a piercing blood dives in for Sukuna's dome piece. And Sukuna raises just one hand. And notably, even more impressive than his disciple or his chef or Ume, he doesn't even palm it. He just raises a hand up, block. He easily could have dodged it though. Once again, if Kenny can dodge piercing bloods from point blank range or near point blank range, then of course Sukuna could dodge this one coming in from long range. But darn, he blocks it. And we see that why can't I English? We see that Sukuna mentions this is that older brother, the DPW painting, the DWPs. And here's the thing, he says this is that older brother, the DWPs, and he says so stubborn. But I think this is Itadori. Call me huffing straight copium, but I think this is Itadori. I don't think Choso magically showed up, landed one attack, and fell over or something. Because not only does Choso just not appear here, not only is Choso who knows how far away, considering Sukuna threw Higuruma a massive distance, and not only did Choso have 2 donut holes in him, but also everyone's been calling me crazy. Itadori has blood manipulation, yo. Like, this isn't news. This isn't some revolutionary, like, do y'all not remember 244? Thanks for teaching me so much, senpai. After all, Choso can't teach for squad. Oh, really? What would he be teaching? What would Kamo be teaching Itadori? It's not like Kamo has simple domain. It's not like Kamo has anything. He was teaching him blood manipulation. Like, I thought this was hard confirmed in 244. Like, my friends, people are like, y'all been looking at me crazy. Like, this can't be. There's no way this could be Itadori Yuji. There's no way this could be his piercing blood. Like, dog, 3 chapters ago, it's been confirmed this man has this. Because what else would Choso and Kamo be teaching him? Choso doesn't know simple domain, falling blossom emotion, the domain he doesn't know none of that. So it's not like he was teaching him that, and it's not like Kamo would know any of those things. What's the one uniform thing across Choso and Kamo that both could teach Itadori? Blood manipulation. And his Yuji's. He mentions his Choso's technique, because he mainly knows Choso for doing it, because that's the only one he's encountered. Well, actually, no, I think he did. No, because the only fight he had with Kamo was in Kyoto, and I think Kamo was using the arrows that he was guiding with blood manipulation. He wasn't using piercing blood. So that's why Sukuna recognizes that. But he specifically says so stubborn, because he's like, oh, the kid's still here doing things when I took out a whole chunk of his torso. This idiot. I think that's Itadori. I'm putting money on it. I'm putting money on it that's Itadori. If it's revealed to be Choso, I'm not putting actual money on it. I'm messing with y'all. But, like, I think that's Itadori, y'all. He has blood manipulation. It's confirmed in 244. Go back. I swear. Maybe I'm just insane. But I have no idea what else this scene would mean other than to confirm that Itadori Yuji has blood manipulation now. It's why I kind of get on his case for not, like, using flowing red scale stack or anything. Like, using something that could amp his physicals a bit more. Unless what he has on his arms here, like these things, unless this is flowing red scale stack or his variation of it. We don't know if the claws do or anything like that. Once again, Yuji may have multiple curse techniques. He still has, like, clawed hands and stuff like that, and these weird Mahito-esque elbow thingies. So, like, there's still so much we don't know about Itadori, but the man does have blood manipulation. That should be hard confirmed. I swear I'm not crazy. Maybe I am just crazy, but this is Yuji. This is Yuji using piercing blood. And it just fails, because it's Yuji against Sukuna, and of course it's going to fail. But what I will admit, what I do like about this, I like how Higuruma takes that opportunity, and I love how desperate he is for it. Because look at the arm here. He regenerates an entire arm. Bro's first, arm and his thighs. Well, technically both arms. You can't see because it's overwhelmed by the steam from the thigh here, but I'm pretty sure he regenerates both arms here. But first use of RCT ever. Instantaneously he's able to regrow an arm. Now, we haven't seen use of Okotsu. Well, admittedly, he hasn't been pushed to lose an arm yet. He's only, like, been mangled and lost hand, and his body parts have been beat up, and, like, he's had chunks of his torso blown out. We've never seen him need to use a full arm. But, like, Higuruma joins the club of regular dudes, and by regular dudes, I mean just generic sorcerers, not perfect beings like Sukuna. But even then, you could argue when he was Maguna, he's joined the club of Hikari, Gojo, and Sukuna of regrowing entire limbs. But notably, a detail that I love, I don't think these are motion lines. I think Higuruma did the bare minimum so that he could hold a sword. He regrew the muscle tissue and the sinew and the tendons that hold his arm together so he could have the executioner's blade in hand to swing at Sukuna. He didn't even, like, you can see he starts to heal more of his body here, but for the instance of the opening that was provided by the split-second action of Yuji Itadori with a piercing blood, he immediately goes for that opportunity and goes to stab. I will admit, though, why did you go for the hand, bro? Why? I mean, maybe because he was hoping Sukuna would be off guard there or something, but why did you go for the one part of his body that could be so easily cut off? Like, I know it doesn't come to our minds as creatures like, oh, just remove a hand. It's kind of like the way Toto did it against Mahito. That's not a thing that most people can or would do. Like, even if we were to remove our, like, subconscious limiters that tell us to not harm ourselves, like, it's the reason you can't feel when you're tickling yourself. It's the reason, like, for the most part, if you grip yourself, you don't ever, like, go too hard or anything like that. It's the reason you don't bite through your own tongue. It's because your body's, like, subconsciously programmed to maintain itself, and thusly it will not exert that much force. Like, you can crack your own teeth, like, if you clench hard enough. you break your own bones if you lift hard enough. So like that is a thing that the body does. So I understand why maybe Higuruma, and once again, it could just be his battle experience not shining through. But like, even on a basic level, bro, you aim for the palm of his hand and not his entire wide behind torso, dog. Like, he can't just easily like, you could have gone lower on the arm at least, make him remove the whole arm, but nah, he only sacked the hand. Which is admittedly kind of funny, because like, he looks so triumphant here as he pierces Sukuna's hand. But you just see Sukuna being like, nice shot, I guess. And he had already chopped off his own arm. Well, his own hand. Though admittedly, it instantly starts steaming, so the idea that Sukuna doesn't have RCT seems to be debunked here, though it does appear that it is very, very slow, because we don't see him regrow the hand throughout the entire rest of the chapter. It is still just steaming. But, with that being the case, man, Higuruma, from one lack of battle experience fumble to another, bro. How'd you suffer so bad, bro? Why didn't you aim for the whole torso, his whole mussy, his whole mouth gut? You could have aimed straight for that, but no, you went for the hand. And we see he very specifically goes for the hand, because he mentions here, he suffered his own hand before I pierced it. So Higuruma very specifically was diving for the hand, bro. You should have gone for the chest, the arm, the shoulders, something, bro. Why the hand? Though that is admittedly a very convenient, but not in a bad writing way, convenient way for Sukuna to survive that pierce. Because of course, yeah, if it's connected to the entire body, it may insta-give him. But if the hands are moved, tough noogies, bro. Can't do anything about that. I do like that. That is a nice way to work around it. And I still like how Higuruma's other hand is steaming into recovery. But of course, no amount of domain amplification, no amount of RCT, no amount of nothing would save Higuruma from his fate. As you see the numerous dismantles, the lines of destruction appear upon Higuruma. And we get introduced, or possibly introduced, to the fact that my computer is screaming quite loud. And I don't like that. How dare you mock me like this? After all I've done for you. Compute, how could you? But we get introduced to the possible idea of maybe post-mortem curse energy. For all my Hunter x Hunter fans out there, you very likely know of post-mortem Nen. Welcome to post-mortem curse energy. As Higuruma was apparently asking Kusakabe, and Kusakabe says, curse is getting stronger post-mortem. I wouldn't call it impossible, probably just unlikely. And we see Higuruma say, if anything, I'd say that would match our general understanding of curses more accurately. Which is interesting. I'm not sure about that. Like, curses are living creatures, too. So the idea of curses lasting better after death, I don't know. The thing I think, though, because they're using the word curses here, I'm interested to see what the official translation uses. But I'm guessing what they mean here is that, well, since curse energy is born of negativity, and what is more negative in our world than death, then maybe death would only make things stronger or more maintainable. Maybe that's why certain curse tools are made. With Nanami's Ratio Reaper, the 7-3 slasher, if you will. The reason it managed to stay is because all the negativity that was born of all the cursed energy Nanami used imbued itself into the blade. And that may be the same thing that happens here with this tiny little cross that Higuruma offers up to Itadori here. So ultimately, the blade itself is now imbued with all the negativity, and even though Higuruma himself has perished, the blade won't disappear. Maybe. But once again, this is all game theory on these two's part. And remember, the blade itself is a construct. The hammer itself is a construct. It's something that Higuruma manifests on his own. It's not an actual tangible thing, unlike the cursed tool that was the Ratio Cleaver. So this may not work out all too well. But we see that Higuruma throws it up. He throws it up. Hands in the air, yo. Hands in the air, put your hands in the air. And as he gets sliced to ribbons by Sukuna, who looks a little bit disappointed in Higuruma, he simply watches as Higuruma falls and Itadori snatches the cross out of the air. Once again with these clawed hands, I wonder what they do. But he snatches them, and we see that Itadori is sweating buckets, right? Because obviously he's still under extreme lethal duress, and unlike Higuruma, it doesn't appear he's figured out how to heal, unless there's a steam coming off of him and not just generic empty hole stuff. Unless maybe he did heal or learned how to use blood manipulation to maintain himself. We see him sweating as he holds the blade, but then everything goes still. He locks in on the sight of Higuruma falling with a smile and an extended hand. And Higuruma once again attempts to not look Yuji Itadori in the eye for what he's done. But Itadori gets a flashback to Nanami Kento and realizes that yes, he does in fact have it from here. And Itadori Yuji, with his resolve reborn, swings in. And Higuruma proudly declares, "I've done what I can." And I believe it's Yuji, but maybe both are saying, "I am a Jujutsu sorcerer." And the blade reignites in Yuji's hand. And we see, grasping the curses entrusted to him with his own two hands. Chapter 247, end with Sukuna about to be impaled by Yuji Itadori by the Executioner's blade. I'm going to put you down here. If you decide you want to scream all the way down there. Ain't this a chapter? Ain't this a chapter? So, allow me to quickly do a little something. Yes, the chapter is in fact worthy. Shock work. If you could not tell, the chapter is indeed worthy. But why? Before we actually get into that, I do want to talk about something. I sure do hope somebody picked up that phone. Because I knew this man was cooked. I had it in my cards. I shorted the Higuruma stock. I knew that man was cooked. I knew he was never going to reach that level. I knew he was not built like that for real. I mean, sure, he learned RCT, he learned Domain Amp. That's all really cool. Still not even a top 15 character in the verse. I'll be completely real with y'all. Higuruma, without any real scaling to anyone above, he's just gotten nebulously stronger from the month before. This is the same man who was struggling with a cursed energyless Yuji. He is still fodder. But all that put aside, I knew he wasn't going to do anything to Sukuna. One, because he ain't that important. And two, I don't think this is going to work. So when I put you on the ground, you want to go quiet. So you want to come back up now? Huh? Are you going to stay quiet? Are you going to stay quiet down there? Like a good little computer? Or are you going to get loud again the moment I pick you back up? You better stay quiet. I'll put you back up. Because I need to reference you anyway. And I'm not scrolling you with my toes. I got socks on right now, so I can't even scroll you with my toes. So I'm going to bring you back up. You better stay quiet. Understood? Understood. I'll give you uppies. Let me give it uppies. All right. It's back up on the desk. So, I don't think this is going to work at all. I don't think it's going to work. Number one, it'd be a little anticlimactic for Sukuna to get got. Sure, the last finger's still a thing. The last finger can feed into my theory that the last finger is going to be used as a basis for the merger, and we're going to get Suku merger and all that and stuff like that. That'd be cool and all. Don't think so. Sukuna's showing off basically nothing. Like, we still don't know the name of his technique proper. We still don't know the full extent of his abilities proper. We don't know anything about the black box. And sure, one finger Sukuna could be used to show all that, and it would probably be a better fight. And you can sack this Sukuna and get Megami back, however brain dead he may be, with this, but I don't see it. For numerous reasons. One, you could argue that maybe Higuruma was just wrong. Maybe him and Kusakabe, considering Kusakabe, Mr. Game Theory himself, was wrong about the whole spatial slashes that we see Sukuna pull out with no problem here. It's entirely likely that he could just be wrong about post-mortem cursed energy, and bada bing bada boom, the blade disappears. It may have reignited for a moment, but the moment Higuruma perishes, right as the blade goes to pierce Sukuna's back, Yuji's palm or fist just makes contact, bounces off. Because the blade itself is worthless. Because it's not a blade anymore, as it's a construct that disappears with Higuruma, as, cursed techniques tend to fade after death. Number two, Sukuna's just way too fast for this. Remember, this is the same man who could tell when he was getting Shadow Clone Jutsu'd by Satoru Gojo that, this is the real one, and he reacted perfectly to that. You think he doesn't notice Yuji Itadori swinging behind him with the one thing that could actually maybe execute him on the spot? He can just dodge. Yeah, Sukuna is extremely fast. This is no issue for him to dodge. Number three, Gege could just easily make the rule that, the Executioner's Blade only works in the hands of the Judge of Fate. It doesn't work for anyone else. So Yuji may actually swing on Sukuna, may pierce him and everything, but it's not going to work. Because he's not Higuruma. He's Itadori Yuji. So, blade doesn't work that. There are 15 different ways. There's no way this is working. I'm sorry. I'm fine with Takaba's involvement in the removal of Kenjaku, but I don't think Higuruma's going to get as big a dub as, taking out Sukuna, even if indirectly through Yuji Itadori. I just don't buy it. Not at all. But On top of that, the chapter is worthy for a couple different reasons. Number one, I do love the character interactions here. Like, it's only three characters. Three characters debut and appear throughout this entire chapter, but their dynamic is wonderful regardless. I love Higuruma's determination shown by his willingness to charge ahead, but his logical nature allowing him to react appropriately. I love Yuji getting gripped up by the side and being toyed around with by Sukuna, once again building into this weird dynamic that these two have. Like, why is Sukuna keeping him alive? I have no idea. Why does Sukuna still have a lazy eye? Why is one looking this way, one looking that way? I have no idea. But seeing Yuji survive is still very, very impressive. Seeing what Sukuna's going for is going to be interesting. Seeing Higuruma once again adapt ever further is fantastic. Seeing another spatial slash is really, really cool. At least I presume that's what this is. And I already gave my reasoning for why I think Sukuna used it here to avoid domain amplification. And obviously, once again, RCT Higuruma, great, fantastic, amazing. Overall, a really good chapter. Pretty simple, pretty sweet though. Once again, not much comes from this in terms of like plot progression or anything like that. And scaling wise, it's also hard to get basically anything off of this, considering it just reinforces that Sukuna's just built different. And ultimately, I still don't see Yuji Itadori coming out on top, for that is simply not his fate. However, that's what I think. Please tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, please leave the cog and the judge in the comment section down below. The cog, C-O-G. I know I pronounce words weird, but the cog and the judge. Please leave that down below if you made it all the way to the end of this video. I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that little notification bell so you do not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon below. I said that weird. A Patreon down below where you can support me for as low as $1 to get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member to the channel for as low as $3 a month by clicking the join button right beneath the video to get these same perks and more. Some of those perks include the 20-minute live reaction to this very chapter. Now, I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dag of the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members, Recliner Plays, Red Wolf 4765, Greyhound, and Akid's Void. And I'd like to give another thank you to our $5 patrons, Victor, Sean, Midnight Gemlord, Kevin, DemixLND, and Igneal. And I'd like to give a chunky old thank you to our $7 member, Autumn's Morning Lazo. And I'd like to give another chunka thank you to our $10 patrons, Robbie Uchiha, Joaquin, Idemokami, and China Doll 09. I'd like to give a hefty thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose. I'd like to give another giga gargantuan thank you to our $25 patron, Calvin Elder.